Welcome to the Scottish Marketing Network podcast. I'm Jamie, your host for today's episode. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe or follow us so you never miss an episode. We are here to share insights, strategies and stories from some of the best talent Scotland has on offer, with the aim of helping you excel on your marketing journey. Now, let's dive right into today's episode. So today, joined by Craig Campbell. A lot of people might know him from the SEO industry. Big figure for many years. You don't want to blow your own trumpet by agreeing with me, mate, but again, when I started, I'd kind of heard of you and you were a pretty big figure in there. But for anyone that's kind of not heard about you, mate, do you want to give them a quick kind of insight into who you are, what you've done, and kind of where we are now?
So, been in the industry 22 years. My name's Craig, obviously, but been in the industry for 22 years. Got in very, very early, which was by pure luck and chance. And over the years, I've done, I think, four years freelance working in my bedroom, like everyone does start out. Built up my own agency, done that for about 10 years and nearly killed myself. Lots of stories I can talk about that I didn't do right. Running an agency, managing lots of staff and all that. And decided that client work and managing staff and all of that stuff wasn't for me personally. It was actually stressing me out and giving me a lot of problems. So decided to go down the route of building a personal brand, doing affiliate marketing, training, speaking at conferences, buying and selling digital assets, building my own assets, and just getting involved in SaaS and various other tools as well. So led me down a slightly different path, but one that I'm a lot more happier with, and do a lot of stuff on YouTube as well. A lot of it's educational, but I do work with a lot of brands and stuff as well. So a lot of people say, oh, can we get exposure on there? Which also leads to doing podcasts with inspiring people or people that I want to hear the answers from. So it's led down to all that kind of stuff as well. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
It's a heck of a journey, man. And as I say, I think it must have been about maybe five years ago when I kind of started breaking into the SEO kind of game. I think that was when your main transition to the speaking at conferences and doing all these different kind of events, stuff like that. That's when I kind of saw you, and then it was actually through a friend of mine who kind of made the introduction between me and you, and I've probably known each other a couple of years now as well, and it's been hugely valuable having you kind of as part of my network, and that's one of the reasons why today I wanted to kind of pivot this podcast towards building networks, and having valuable networks there to share knowledge. I've done a little bit of asking around as well about kind of people that you've met through networks too. And I think people will be able to learn an awful lot from your experience with building your network, and really taking something away to try and focus on themselves and build their own network up, and try and break in, whether it's someone that's just started out in the marketing game, and again, you've kind of met a lot of people in the last year or so that have said, look, I want to start marketing, and you've literally taken them on with no expectations from it, just purely, no, that's fine, I'll give you a hand and stuff like that. So I think we'll swivel to is growing a network. How did that first start for you?
So when I had the agency, I was not wanting to be the front of anything. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I wanted to sit in the background. I had a sales guy. Didn't want to be known, nothing like that. And when near the end of my agency, my sales guy went, like, I want to go and do some shit myself. And I'm like, fuck. And I was everything was fine with that guy. But when I was phoning around the customers, they were like, who are you? And where's the other guy? I thought he owned it. And I was unknown. But that kind of triggered something in my head where I'm like, fuck, no one knows who I am. I don't know anyone. I'm not networking with people. I've not even get anyone to phone and ask for ideas from,
Mm-hmm.
or a second opinion on. I knew a few SEOs, but I was like, fuck, and I was obviously stressed running this business. I didn't have anyone saying, mate, you're doing this wrong, or you know, if you not considered this or you not considered that. Like I had family members going like, you need to calm down, like what you're doing, it's not good, it doesn't seem right.
Mm-hmm.
But they hadn't run a business
They
before,
don't, yeah,
so
they don't know what it's like.
so for me, I I obviously wanted to build a personal brand, um, and I started speaking at conferences and stuff like that pretty much after that. But it was going down south to like Brighton SEO, um, meeting with other people who just understood the problems I had. I'm like, fuck, this is amazing. And you're then on WhatsApp or text or Zoom calls or whatever, and you're like, dude, I'm fucking struggling with this. And people are like, oh yeah, I had that problem last week. And you're like, geez, this is actually a sign of relief, because you can't ask your old mate that, you went to school with,
Uh-huh.
who knows nothing about what you do. You can't say to him, like, what am I doing wrong? He's doesn't know what you're doing wrong. He
Yeah.
thinks you're doing well. And that's the big thing for me, was being able to lean on other people and learn from other people. But the more you get out, the more you realise, fuck, even just sitting, listening to two other people talking at a bar
Mm-hmm.
about problems they have, and I'm going, fucking hell, I've got, the big ears sticking out going, fuck, I've never even heard of that problem,
Yeah.
but it sticks in your head and you're like, if that does come up, I know now how to deal with it. So I think, people think of going to conferences, and hanging about at the bars, just a big piss up and all that. Deals are done there, contacts are made there, vendors are met there. If you know a guy that's really good at web design, or whatever it may be, those guys are there. There's knowledge there, there's tools, automation, shit that you just didn't know existed.
Yeah.
I've learned all of that stuff pretty much on the road, meeting other people, listening to their perspectives, just earwigging in conversations. And you're like, wow. And for me, my first 15 years, when I was a freelancer working house, I had no clue what I was doing. It was just learning in forums. There wasn't even YouTube. But obviously, running the agency, I had 10 years of that, hiding, not networking. It's only in recent times I've actually started to make real money and progress really into fully understanding what I do. I would say I was fairly knowledgeable when I had the agency, doing work for 10 years. You know a lot of stuff, but really after that, doing all that stuff is when your knowledge is fucking top notch. And,
Yeah.
it's not me that just dreams up all of these kind of tactics or techniques or loopholes or whatever you want to call it. It is just by having conversations with other people, saying, what is it you're doing? And, like Slory or whatever, with these 50 phones, eh, you know, and guys like that, we laugh at it and you can see it as a bit of a joke, but you're like, fuck, this guy's done this and that didn't work or that did work. And, if you're not mingling with these guys, then where is your actual real knowledge coming from? You can't just blindly believe what someone's saying on the
Yeah.
internet. So for me, it obviously has accelerated my growth, my contacts, knowledge, and everything else. And I've won a lot of business doing it as well. So
Yeah.
there is no real negative to it. And everyone's like, you're all boozing up and all that fucking, you're always out there like, of course you're going to mix that
Mate,
in as well. You're
that's what
like,
I'm saying.
fuck.
Even if it is going out for a good laugh with your pals and whatever it is, you're still around other people as well, and you're still going there. And if we all go out, it's all of us going out together as a marketing unit.
Yeah,
Sounds stupid to say, but if I've got a problem that I've had that week and I'm like, Craig, can I pick your brain for a second here?
yeah,
There's no better place to do it than over a bar or over a drink or something. You can just be like, that's fine, that's what you need to
absolutely.
do. So if we go back a step to it, right? Um, Starting the first networking event, or starting this, or going to that first SEO conference, or going to meet somebody that probably put you out of your comfort zone a little bit, or I don't know, was it an uncomfortable thing for you to go?
Absolutely. That even just going to an event, when you don't know anyone. You're unknown. You're like, I'll try this event out. It's even awkward just to try and make conversations for
Yeah.
some people. I'm fairly outgoing, but you're like, I'm not in this circle of friends. So even just as an attendee, it can be awkward if you
Mhm.
don't know someone who can introduce you to other people. But obviously, speaking at conferences and stuff as well, it's not fun. When you've not done it before,
Yeah.
you're like, fuck, dry mouth, sweats. You're going, fuck, what if I say this? What if I say that? And you're putting yourself outside the comfort zone. But one day I just looked at these things and I'm like, man, that is the way you need to position yourself. I want to be on that stage. Like,
Yeah.
I feel as if my knowledge, I could add value on that stage at, whatever. And sometimes you just have to step outside your comfort zone because,
It's the only time you grow.
yeah, I wouldn't say I enjoy being on a stage. Like, I get some thrill out of it. I definitely don't. I mean, it doesn't bother me anymore because I've
Mhm.
done it hundreds of times, so I'm not bothered by it anymore. But again, there was the first probably 10, 15 of them where you were like, shit.
Right about the armpits.
Oh, dude, the first one, actually, I went to London. Very small event, by the way. There was 40 or 50 people there, and it was in a basement in London, and it was first ever speaking opportunity. And I remember I went down to the basement and I seen the 30 or 40 or 50 people or whatever was there, and I shit myself. I'm like, fuck. And I walked back up the stairs and I stood outside, and my wife was in a hotel 2 minutes along the road.
Mhm.
And I was that close to just sending the guy a message saying, my wife's taking no well, I need to run back. Um, Something inside me said, don't do that. But when I was talking, there was beads of sweat dripping off the end of my nose. And I think I was worked up into a frenzy.
Do you know what though? That was probably the moment, that tipping point moment for you.
Yeah,
That's the fact you've kind of said it and went, I nearly bailed on it.
yeah,
And if you'd gone back, if you had bailed on it, right, psychologically, what would have happened to the next one was you would have had the same fear,
yeah.
but it would have been worse because you're like, oh, I backed out the last one.
Yeah,
The fact you just literally went, you know what,
fuck it. I mean, it's down in
let's
London. I'd
do it.
travelled. I'm like,
Yeah,
to fuck with this. I'll just get it over and done with. If
yeah.
they laugh at me or whatever it may be,
How
so
many
what?
people, all those people, if things went tits up, whatever, you're going to see again? Probably not many anyway. So,
Exactly. So
and that's,
do it away.
yeah,
Go and cut your teeth away from Glasgow. Because if you've done it up here and your mates or whatever,
I
I
know.
mean, you get fucking slaughtered for the rest of your life.
That's true.
So,
That's true. I think th- one of the most important things that I'd kind of realised with doing and trying, like I said, because I'm trying really hard to do it now and kind of grow my network as well, is I always looked at people that went to these networking events, and if I didn't have a pal to go with, right, I would be like, nah, I'm not going to go.
yeah.
I'm not for me. And it's very weird because people, again, like you, do see me and they're like, oh, he's quite confident now going and stuff like that. Like,
Did I?
apparently so, aye.
I don't know if I'd say that.
But there's a few people that have said, like, you know, you're quite outgoing, you're quite confident, that must be easy for you. I'm like, no, if I don't know someone that's going to an event that I can break the silence with at the start,
Yeah.
I'm not going to that. That changed.
Yeah.
Um, that changed when I went to a couple of events and I saw quite a few people themselves, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, they're in the same boat that I'm on. So I just literally went up straight away, started talking to them. How you doing? I'm Jamie. I'm at Amp Digital. This is what I'm doing, and I had great conversations with people. And now it's just become so easy to go to an event and just I feel like I go to anything myself, and you'll find other people in the same boat that you're in at these events and sit and have a good conversation with them.
Yeah.
And then the really valuable part is you don't know who that person is. You don't know who they've got in their network, and
Yeah.
I think I actually wrote a couple of kind of notes as well. But if we were to track having a network as a marketing campaign, like, and how high your network converts, it'd be the best fucking marketing form of marketing you could possibly do.
Abs-
Everything comes through it.
Absolutely. Like, so that, just I give you a quick example of that. I went to Brighton SEO with my wife on my own one time. I met a guy down there. who I'd spoken to online, just through Twitter and stuff.
Mhm.
We'd done a few SEMrush webinars together, a guy called Andy Drinkwater. So he was at Brighton, so we got along, we had a few beers, got on really well. Now, from there, I had a client in Chester, which is where Andy Drinkwater stays. So I used to go and see my client once a month. I had to go on site and I had to train the internal team, make sure everything was okay. So I used to say to Andy, like, I'm down there. It was always a Thursday. Andy, I'm down the last Thursday of every month. Let's meet up at my hotel, we'll have a few beers and just chat some shit. Now, one day, after a few months of doing that, we're like, do you want to, that website Meetup came out, meetup.com. And we said, for next month, we'll just stick out a meetup and say we're having a wee meetup here just for a laugh. Now, we didn't say there was going to be a presentation. We didn't say anything. We just said, bunch of SEO guys are meeting in this hotel. And about 22 people turned up and we're like, fuck. So we said, right, what happens if we get a pub and put on a presentation and maybe invite a couple of speakers or whatever? And we used to get 100 people at these on a regular basis. But from that, I met James Dooley, who used to come to the Chester SEO meetup. I met a whole bunch of other people there, but the reason I mentioned James Dooley is James Dooley, if I didn't know him, I would have never spoken at Chiang Mai SEO, which was probably still arguably is one of the bigger and better SEO conferences in the world. Now, James put me forward for that because someone else wasn't well and he pulled out. And James is like to Matt Diggity, have this guy Craig, he's knowledgeable. I was unknown, and Matt's like, who the fuck is he?
Yeah.
So I was given that opportunity through James. And believe it or not, like some of the ones I've spoken at in recent years, like Affiliate World and stuff, where there's 6,000 and 7,000 people, Matt Diggity recommended me to Affiliate World. So that networking and, you know, who knows who, and it gets passed around, ended up with me getting a hell of a lot more speaking opportunities. Now, obviously, it's up to me to take advantage of those speaking opportunities. It's not quite as easy as your old mate says go. You know, you've got to perform, you've got to give knowledge away and everything else. So I don't want to take that part away. But if I didn't meet Andy at the Brighton when I wasn't a speaker and didn't do that meetup, I wouldn't have met James Dooley. I wouldn't have then met Matt Diggity and spoke at his conference. I wouldn't have. I might have. I don't know, but
Aye.
that's kind of how it worked.
It's the introduction that one into one's network, and then that's introduced into the next one's network, and then I think it's the way that you expect kind of social media marketing and stuff like that to go, where if someone likes or retweets or something that you do, it goes to their followers, but it's 150,000 times more powerful than that because it's actually people. It's connections, in-person connections, which is the shame is since COVID not as popular, because people did adopt this kind of work from home thing where they could do everything they needed to do from their house. And, you know, again, rise of LinkedIn and stuff like that as well, where you can make professional networks.
But having a beer
Correct.
and talking to someone, you know, I get it all the time. Just people I've met over the years, conference organisers and everything are like, Craig, can you recommend this speaker? Have you heard of this person? Have you come across them? Could you recommend them? So even things like that, people will leverage their network going, do you know this guy? Can you vouch for that guy? Can you give me a suggestion for raw talent? Maybe someone you've stumbled across that isn't a speaker, because we want fresh ideas, fresh content, stuff like that. So that happens all the time, and people phone another person for that information. No one's blindly going, right, I'm a conference organizer and I want a couple of people for the UK or whatever. They're not just plucking something out of the wilderness. Someone's getting a phone call or a message saying, do you know someone? Always.
That's the same with business as well.
Yeah.
Do you know something? We can't. It's horrendous right now to bring inbounds in for us. We purely rely on someone picking up the phone and saying, we need a new website. Do you know a guy?
Yeah.
And we get a referral from that. SEO, whatever it may be. it's amazing how someone just saying your name on a phone call to their pal, going speak to him, the deal's done,
Yeah,
and it's
just because that person trusts that person,
yeah,
and if the recommendation comes from them, then it carries a lot more weight than just a general
yeah.
run of the mill
Aye.
LinkedIn post or tweet or whatever it might be. So I think it is very, very powerful, and people do trust other people. So
It's a good way to prove value, though. Like I'm not totally discouraging using LinkedIn. Like obviously, I would still use it all the time, but I think when that person that has referred you on goes and searches you and sees what you're like and what stuff you do, and they do see like LinkedIn and stuff like you're pretty active on it, you look like you know what you're doing. Obviously, it does instill a bit more trust, but that the biggest part of that trust has come from someone that they trust going go to him.
yeah,
And I think that's probably why I do think that building a big strong network, and it's not building a network of I want him in my network because of X, Y, and Z. I don't think that's the right way to do it. I think it's got to be I want him in my network because they're a good guy.
aye,
I can have a
absolutely.
laugh with him. I can chat to him. I can see him in an event and go, "Oh, Davey, how you doing, mate? Like I've not seen you in a while. What's new? Oh, by the way, Jamie, someone was looking for a thing. I hope you don't mind if I pass your information on. Sure.
I mean, it depends what your. For me, there's a couple of different type of networks. So you've got your close network of people who you're not going to invite some asshole into it.
Yeah.
You know that you don't like, or is going to disrupt the balance of it. But there obviously is a wider network, and business is business, and sometimes you have to humour people that you may not personally like or get on with or whatever. And obviously that's still part of your network, but you know, the close network, um, I wouldn't tolerate people that I don't like
Mhm.
or act up or, you know, maybe don't have the same morals or whatever.
Yeah.
But and I would want them to be good guys. The rest of them, eh, you know, if you're good at what you do, I couldn't care less whether you're a good guy or not. You know, I would
Yeah.
recommend you. You
Yeah.
know, if you're
Yeah.
really good at, I don't know, a Python developer or something, and you're really good at it, I just don't care for what you do out with your work. You're like, I just need my work
Aye.
done.
Correct. It's first.
So, yeah, I think you have to look at it as a kind of two-way approach, but certainly from a local perspective, like the people that we jump around with, you couldn't really have someone who was a douchebag. You know,
Yeah.
people would
Yep.
just then stand off and go, "I'm not going there because he's gone there," and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So you need to be careful who you do it with
Yeah.
locally, and maybe you're going out for dinner with or going round to their house or whatever. Because
Yeah.
you don't want to be.
Unexpected house arrival visits with someone you're like, that's true. Don't be like QV. But I think what I'll try and ask then is see when you're at an event or whatever it is, and you see a few people you're like, actually have not kind of spoke to you yet or whatever it is. That kind of initial approach is what's the mindset behind it? You thinking, I do want to have you in my network, or are you thinking I actually just want to speak to you?
I don't have a particular way of looking at that. Now, I'll explain why in a minute, but I've got other people who work the room,
Mm,
and they'll go, I'm not necessarily, you know, people have got different thought processes. So, Mad Singers came to one in Glasgow, and he says, Craig, I go round everyone to say hello and introduce myself, see what they're up to. And he says, that's just how I feel that networking should work. He says, but in particular, the quiet ones that are hanging around the back that maybe don't know anyone, I make more of an effort
yeah,
with them. Figure out what they do. If they're obviously not really relevant to him, he'll move on quickly to the next guy. He's just looking to see who's who's doing what and how it may help him in some way,
yeah,
or help his network. So he does think about it. Slightly different for me because most of the time when I go to these things or conferences, people are coming to me,
yeah,
rather than me trying to seek out people. So I am in a weird position where sometimes I'm like, fuck, you know, this is blown my brains, and I can get caught up with people who are maybe newbies who don't really have much to offer me,
mhm,
and they're asking questions, which is fine, absolutely fine to do. But you can get caught up in that, and you don't get to then network with the right people.
yeah,
But I think that, you know, the point I'm trying to make is someone like Mads who wants to work the room and find people. People go with an agenda. I've had friends come to me going, Craig, I'm at this event and I need to speak to so and so. We had Gary Wilson and stuff actually come to Dubai, and they're like, I need to speak to this girl called Morella who was also speaking at Affiliate World. They're like, how, where is she? Can we meet her? Like, I love her stuff. And I messaged Morella on WhatsApp, and I'm like, listen, I've got a friend who's desperate to meet you. He loves your presentations. He's been a big follower, and he wants to pick your brain. I says, can you pay for an hourly consultancy? Can we meet for a coffee?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I don't do consultancy or anything. But he was desperately like, Craig, I want to fucking meet her. He didn't care about anyone else at that conference. Like, I need her. And I've had others going, Craig, I need you to introduce me to this, to this, to this, because that guy does this, and I need to know more about whatever it was. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was a guy called Peter van de Graaf, and he had it written down on his iPad, and he's like, Craig, I need this person because that person said this one time, and I need to know more in depth what that person is. So people do go out with a thing where they go, that is the person I'm targeting. But I've also had other friends who went to like a WordPress meetup.
Mm-hmm.
They've deliberately went there because they wanted a WordPress developer in-house. They were going there to fucking take someone,
Aye.
hire someone. So, there's lots of different ways to look at these things. And obviously you want something
Yeah.
always,
Aye. Absolutely.
whether it become better at YouTube, whether it become better at public speaking. So you're not going to waste your time talking to an old developer when, that's probably something that you're really comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to learn more about maybe public speaking or conferences, and there's a guy there that's doing that stuff, that you'd be like, no, I need to ask him. I want to ask this, that, pick his brain on that kind of thing. So I think you have to go into it strategically, because otherwise you'll get left with somebody that's just waffling a load of old shit, and it's not offering you value. You have to leave any of these things going, wow, I learned something there, or had a right good laugh at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's slightly different for me because you get caught up with lots of different people trying to ask you stuff, and you're like, fucking hell, man.
But I think the difference with you is maybe a lot of the events you go to right now, you're pretty much centre stage of it,
Yeah.
and there is points where people will again go to a networking event who's got a speaker at it with the sole purpose of, I want to speak to the speaker.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's a different type of approach, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
I think the approach where people are maybe just starting out, or they've graduated from university and they've got a marketing degree, and like, I want to start speaking to people in the industry. That there's every room for them to go to these events. They've got speakers at, but the people that they are most valuable speaking to is the rest of the crowd.
Well, I would say exactly that. I would agree wholeheartedly. Like, when I go to a conference, I know a lot of the speakers, and I respect them massively for what they do. I've seen a lot of their talks. I know a lot of what they're talking about. Am I getting value from listening or going straight after that speaker? No. Is the conversations out with that from unknown people or whatever, just random conversations where
Yeah.
you're like, oh fuck, this guy's doing something really cool. So sometimes people do make a beeline for a speaker, and if a speaker's speaking on a topic or notorious for something that you need to learn,
Uh-huh.
I'm sure
Yeah.
chase them, but uh, you know, don't just blindly chase the speakers if
Yeah.
they're giving the same old stuff all the time. I
Yeah.
think most people will tell you, most experienced SEOs that I know, it's different for people new to the industry, but most experienced SEOs don't even listen to the speakers. They're there for the rest of it. Different for a new person because you've got to learn.
Mhm.
We've all had to listen to all the different stuff to learn, but once you hear the same thing time and time again, you're like, fuck.
I
So,
already know this.
um,
I think it's the expectation. I think because I've got a slightly different approach where I will try and actually just speak to everybody, and there will be unique angles that people have. And again, it's like anything in life. It just takes one.
Hmm?
it just takes one person that you go and speak to, and it might be so. I think actually a few weeks ago at one of the networking events, I spoke to somebody about kind of the websites, WordPress, Elementor, and stuff like that, and they were like, "Oh, I need help with this. Can you help me on?" They're part of a big company, and that was just purely speaking to somebody that was by themselves, new to the networking kind of scene, and unfortunately, the first person they met was me. But that no, but it just shows that like I don't have any agendas or expectations,
Hmm.
and I don't know who's in the room, and I don't really know who to approach straight away.
Yeah.
It's only maybe after speak to a couple of people, and again, I'll try and keep it short, right? How you doing? I'm Jay, standard drivel. I'll try and keep it short to understand what it is that they do,
Yeah.
right? And if I'm like, you know what, nice guy, nice girl, I don't have, connections aligned with them,
Yeah.
then I'll just say, great chatting to you, and kind of move on.
Yeah.
Um, and then obviously when you do meet people that are interested in you, and again, this is also a really important point, is that when you do meet someone that's of interest to you, chances are you're of interest to them,
Yeah.
right? So that conversation is not going to be a hard conversation. You might start talking about something like, I don't know, technical SEO. Let's just use
Yeah.
something we both know, right? Technical SEO, and they chat me and go, "Oh, I did a really cool thing the other week, and it was X, Y, and Z." And regardless of if you've done it or not, you're kind of pretty invested in this
Yeah.
conversation now, just purely because you can outline straight away, this is what I do. They've gone, this is what I do. If it's like all in water, and you're like, all right, cool, we'll catch you later on, then it's trial and error, isn't it?
Yeah. You've
Right?
got to.
So that's the kind of way that I'll do it. I'll try and speak to people quickly. Um, Try and get as through as much of them as I possibly can, and make connections. And again, ask for numbers, ask for email addresses. Meet up for them with coffees. That's a really good one as well. I've kind of more had the confidence to do more recently, and just say, well, let's just grab a coffee next week, and talk about whatever it is that we're talking about, and pick it up. And then actually that on a turn will give you more time to speak to other
Yeah.
people as well.
Yeah.
Um, cool. So going from the kind of London style networking, and you had the kind of hundreds and stuff like that, to all the way to kind of where we are now, there's definitely been loads of steps in between. And one of the things that I know that you kind of run is kind of these mastermind groups.
Yeah.
And from what I understand to be, is a very close group of people that have got all the same um, wants, objectives as each other kind of do.
Hmm.
They all come together and help each other, and people pay for it.
Yeah.
So where we're now at a stage of is your network, or
Hmm.
the network you've got, and you've got these people, is that powerful that people are actually willing to say, Craig, here, I'm paying you to be part of this kind of mastermind.
Um. Yes and no. Like, it's not expensive. The reason. I mean, there are masterminds that are expensive and stuff. Um. I have a small fee on mine because people don't value free.
Hmm.
And so if they feel that they're paying you a fee, they'll be more inclined to turn up and participate. You're not going to just let me get away with free money. So it motivates them to come. But I mean, it's good. It's good in a way. You've got various different people in there at various different journeys in their career, so that there's complete rookies who are not practicing SEO professionals. Like, we've got a guy that's a plumber in London in there who has been through the mill going to SEOs, and he wants to learn it for himself. So, he jumps on and all that, and he's in his van and all that shit. But he's doing his own shit, and that's fine. That's great for him to do it. But you've got people who run agencies, you've got people who are very advanced, and people just need to be able to talk to other people in the industry. Like I said before, it can be lonely when you run your own business and you've not got people to bounce ideas around. So we go in there, you know, the guys there will suggest a topic. So if somebody wants to talk about, I don't know, fucking AI, we'll talk about AI. We'll show and different people. It's not about me. It's about what everyone's
Yep.
using. So what are you using? What are you using? Does it work? Does that index? We can look at each other's shit and go, no, that's fucking garbage. That.
Yep.
So you're also, you're sharing knowledge and you're able to identify things that don't work as well, which is obviously cuts down the time it takes to learn. So I think private masterminds are really good because they're in a closed circle, so you can be more open as well. So when you talk at a conference or whatever, Google could be watching, someone could be watching. Do you really want to give your full thing away on a stage where it's all been recorded and you don't know who's listening?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't.
No.
I don't care what anyone says. You cannot lay it all out on a plate for someone for free. You might not even like half these people in there. You don't want to arm the competition, or whatever it may be. So, you tell some fun stories and showcase some stuff, but are you really giving it all away? Few and far are.
Yeah.
There's gaps in the information that they give, and masterminds for me are show me what if you say something, share your screen then and show me the
Hmm.
fucking thing not working. So there's a lot more in-depth analysis that you can have as well. Going, Jamie, like, show me your URL and we
Yep.
can do it and we can all run Screaming Frog on it or whatever it may be, and get a collective, like a whole bunch of people saying it, because it's not just about one person's opinion. You could ask me something and I could give you what I believe to be the best answer to my knowledge, but if you get 4 or 5 different opinions and 4 of them are saying the opposite of what I'm saying, you're going to be going, fucking hell, why are these guys saying it?
Aye.
And,
Am I wrong?
is Craig wrong? Absolutely, Craig can get things wrong and anyone can get things wrong. So because I give you my answer based on something that happened to me 2 years ago, when you're in a industry that's ever changing and that information might not be wholly accurate, something might have changed in 2 years
Hmm.
that I'm not aware of, then it's good to get different
Yeah.
opinions. And someone will say, no, 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 I tried this last week. And because the problem with online and internet stuff is what worked 2 weeks ago might not work
Yeah.
today,
Yeah.
and what used to work that got patched up may work again.
Yeah.
That is what you're up against in our space. So that is where it's important to have those conversations and,
Hmm.
and hearing what other people are doing and what tools they're using. So there's always different topics we cover, and we do general Q&As because people still want to ask more about a specific thing.
Hmm.
So they'll go, right, can you show me this, can you show me that, talk to me more about this. So it's just trying to do that, but I think a lot of people just enjoy having the community side of it,
Yeah.
where they can, if they want to, just say, Jamie, slip into your DMs, Jamie, I've got this problem. You're both in the mastermind. You're more inclined to speak together.
Aye.
You're
Correct. Yeah.
building
Yeah.
relationships and stuff with people. So that's a big, big part of it as well. It's
Yeah.
not just all about the knowledge that's in there. It's building that community thing. And as I say, helping other people grow, and being able to facilitate that is obviously
Yeah.
good to do that. Because I never had that when I was starting in the industry.
Well, I was going to say that it's when you don't know where to look for these things as well right at the start. It's very overwhelming,
Yeah.
and you can get really overwhelmed. Where should I be going to? What events should I be going to? I don't want to learn about SEO, but when I meet people at Brighton SEO or any of the other SEO conferences, that want to go to a marketing, like who's my client, you always ask all these questions, you talk yourself out of it, you're like, oh no, I'm too, I don't want to do it anymore, and
Yeah.
you just go to one.
Yeah.
Like, you'll know if it's right for you when you've gone to it, experienced it, spoke to a few people, going, you know what, it's not maybe for me, that one, but I'll go to a different one next time, and then you'll know that.
But the one important thing, I would just emphasize something you just said there. Why are you going to a conference? Why? Is it to learn? Are you trying to win more customers? What is the agenda?
Hmm.
If you're trying to win more customers and you're a digital marketer, don't go and sell digital marketing to digital marketing people. That is fucking madness.
Mm-hmm.
Go to a business conference and flog digital marketing
Yeah.
to people who may want it. A lot of people, and it took me a long time to understand this, if you're trying to sell SEO to SEO people, your conversion rate's low. I mean, obviously people do white label and all that kind of
Like
stuff.
usually for writing a bit of content,
So
speaking like that, they're not
shit like that.
nothing
But
groundbreaking.
nah, so you need to understand why you're going and who the hell is in that crowd and what that comes to. Is that going to be knowledgeable? Absolutely. If you're with the right crowd. But again, if you're just trying to sell SEO and you don't really care for doing it,
Mm-hmm.
then go to a business conference or
Yeah.
something else, e-com conference, something like that, where people might be doing paid ads and you can try and pitch in with your SEO sales pitch or whatever. So you need to try and understand that as well, rather than blindly going, because I see a lot of people who go to these conferences and then they try to sell to the people at the conferences, and you're like, dude, fuck off. Like,
Yeah.
people come up to me, Craig, I've got these SEO services, and you're like, dude, I mean, you want to sell SEO to me? Like, I've got my own team and stuff like that. Like, I'm not using you.
Yeah.
Slowly, I'm not using a fucking random stranger who has a business card that says they're good at this. I
Yeah.
mean, we're not that daft. I've had my fingers burnt way too many times to just blindly believe
Yeah.
because someone's got good vocabulary and good chat that they're good at what they do. There's so many other things that could go wrong. So, don't attend them if you're trying to pitch to the same crowd. That just makes no sense.
And I think there's a balance as well where you'll go to these events. Let's just use the kind of e-com example. Let's say you're a PPC specialist and you kind of zone in and you're honed in on the fact, right, okay, I'm going to go to an e-com conference because there's people there that will buy my services, and you're absolutely correct. People there will buy our services. And then you go, and then you're like, you speak to the first person. It's like, how you doing? I'm Jamie. Nice to meet you. So I do PPC, and we've generated X amount of it. It's like, that's not the right way to do it.
No.
The part of building a connection with someone there is valuable, because what might happen the next time round is you build this good connection with them. You meet up for a coffee at some point, and they say, actually, there's another really good conference coming up again in a couple of weeks' time. And there's someone that I think would be good for you to meet.
Yeah.
It might be a potential client or whatever. And again, it kind of splits into two, because essentially that's one of the powers of growing the network, is it can have this domino effect where you knock one domino over and it knocks the next one, and then at the end you've met someone massive.
Yeah.
That came from speaking to me, Bob, down at the local.
Yeah.
So it can grow arms and legs. But what advice would you say, right, for that person that's going to that wee PPC guy that's going to go to this e-com network? He knows what he wants to do. He knows who he wants to speak to. He doesn't know what the process is. He doesn't know how to introduce himself in a way that I'm not coming across like I want to sell you a service.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty genuinely wanting to grow connections where people are likely to buy from me or trust me. What kind of advice would you give someone like that?
I mean, I think the main advice I'd give to somebody like that is the best way of selling is not to sell. Just be a nice person. What goes around comes around. If you make it known what you do, that's enough. And if people like you, they'll say, oh, I fell out. It might be 6 months' time, it might be a year's time, but no one likes that. I can do this and I can do that, and I'm the best at this and I'm the best at that. No one likes that chat. I mean, you might get away with that 1 in 100, but the big thing for me is not to be that pushy, greasy salesman. Like we joke about it in our group chat. That's pure grease. Like, we can see what people do, to sell and make friends and all of this stuff. And we call it grease in our chat, but we can smell it a mile off. So if you're coming up, if we're joking about it in our WhatsApp going, that's pure grease. That, look at that fucking guy's LinkedIn post, that's pure grease. I mean, we're joking about it, but if you come up and do that to someone's face, it's actually quite insulting.
Yeah.
You're just like, mate, you're wasting your time. I have automatically shut off. I can smell your grease from a mile away.
Yeah.
Offer value up front, or try and come in from a slightly different angle. Is always what I'd say to people. You know, a unique angle, a whatever angle. I mean, you don't even need to lie. You know, you don't need to ass lick. You don't need to do any of these things. Like Gemma, for example, she reached out to me and she's like, "Hi Craig, how you doing? Um, I like what you do." She said, "I just wondering, is there any local networking events about?" She said, "I am finding it really hard to talk to other like-minded business owners,
Yeah.
not for business, like, you know, who else is about here?"
So I wanted to have a chat with.
Aye, and I'm like, "Well, there isn't really somewhere I can recommend." I says, "But, you know, you can come and meet the guys. We were down in Slorries that night for I think you were there,
Aye,
for the
barbecue.
barbecue, and she came over and introduced her to people, and you know, she's coming to the Christmas thing at Slorries as well. She just needed a wee bit of somebody to talk to. Am I on the right path? Am I charging the right money? I've got this problem with a client. You know, is there such a thing as a VA? She just needed that, and she said that she needed that. She didn't come up and go, "Oh, Craig, I love you. You're
Aye.
such a great guy." And, you know, I watched this talk and gave me all that fucking bollocks. Like, you know, she was just naturally coming, and you're like, sure, I'll fucking help you, no bother. Come down, and that's it. So you don't even need to ask like or anything, because people can see that as well. You know,
Yeah.
just say what you
I
you
think
need.
aye. I think I was going to say actually, like it might be a good kind of question. You know, you see someone at an event, you've gone to the event again. We've gone back to PPC, the e-com event, whatever it is. He meets up. He meets a person. Instead of kind of selling yourself, I mean, just ask them why they're here.
Yeah,
Why are you here, mate? Oh, I'm here because I need a new PPC specialist.
yeah. Fair dues if
So,
you win that one.
you know,
Hey,
but at least if he says, "Oh, I'm here to connect," or "I'm here to speak to X, Y, and Z because they've got good advice," then you know they're not there to be pitched,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But if other people are there, it's like, "Oh, actually, I'm just trying to, get more sales online, and I don't know how to do it, and I'm pulling my hair out." That's the opportunity for a coffee. Like, well, listen, mate, I do that all the time. Like, let's just get a coffee. I'm not gonna sell you anything. Let's go get a coffee. I might be able to give you a bit of advice that's free. And I always try and do that now at events, and I'll try and give some valuable advice,
yeah.
right? That I think to myself is dead straightforward,
Mm-hmm.
but to somebody else is like a huge bit of knowledge that you just kind of dropped on them. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know you could do that. Or I didn't know you could do this. Um, and I always try and do that because I leave that interaction
Mm-hmm.
as someone that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I've not had to sell anything. I've not had to, it's sorted itself out. Where that person comes back to me in 6 months, a year's time, whatever it is, and says, "Jamie, he's really good at that. Speak to him." Whether it's someone else, whether it never happens,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's just been a genuine connection that I've made there. Try to help someone out. I've tried to do what they would want instead of what I want.
Yeah.
I've tried to get on kind of their page. I think there's actually one podcast that you did, and there was a clip in it, and you spoke about kind of helping guys in the or like the smaller time guys
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And I can't remember what podcast it was, but the host turned around and said, "Do you expect anything in return?" And you just went, "Nah, I'm if I've got a person that's coming on, if they're a good guy, if I could have a beer with them, or it's like, why not help them?"
Yeah. You know what? That would have been the Gary Wilson podcast, Dooley and Gary. You know, young Gary came onto the scene when he was about 18. We met and helped him a lot, and you know, he came, travelled to conferences with me.
It was a Gary one because at the end of it, he said, "I'm still waiting a beer for him."
He still not bought me a beer, aye. But you know, he was a young guy, and the funny story is, I tried to take Gary to a conference. He's like, "Nah, dude, I'm not paying £400 if I'm coming to this old shitty conference." I was then able to introduce him to James Dooley and various other people at that conference. And Gary obviously went on to sell his link building agency for a couple of million. And he's, obviously pivoted away into the property game, which he's absolutely crushing because he's utilised that market knowledge and experience and
Mhm.
the contacts and everything else and done it into a business that he's more passionate about because his thing was always property. He loves, doing the whole property thing, and that's fine. But he will tell you himself, I didn't know shit. I didn't know how to network. I didn't know anyone. And we had to slap him around a little bit, not physically, but um, keep his feet
Actually
grounded
clearing
and
up,
all that
aye.
stuff. Aye. Keep his feet grounded because as a young guy earning a few quid, you kind of, you go through a range of different things, and he's come out of it a very, very successful guy, and being able to say, I helped contribute to how he ended up. There is no better feeling. It's not about money. We've
Yeah.
never exchanged money at all. Nothing like that. I was just happy to see another guy do well, and we've had fun times along the way as well. Like he's been in family holidays, he's came to conferences. Couldn't shake him off for a while until he moved that he's kind of moved away. But there was a while where people were like, "Fucking hell, is this guy your boyfriend?" Uh, so that's nice. And as I say, I would do that for anyone. Graham Greaves, another one where he used to come to the Glasgow meetups that we used to have on. I think he might have came before he was even properly an SEO. I think he was just passionate about it, and then he went in house, and then he started up on his own. And when he was starting up on his own, I think he paid for a consultancy call with me, and he's like, "Craig, you know, I'm not sure what to do," and I didn't do anything special with these people. You just giving them a bit of reassurance, like,
Yeah.
mate, you know, once you understand a bit about them and what their knowledge is, you're like, mate, you can do this. This
Aye.
is this is something you can do. Um, and I think he done a few other consultancy calls after that, just about the stress of clients and scaling and delegation. And again, the old South African trick worked for him, and if you said to him who told you that, he'll tell you. Craig suggested that one.
Yeah.
And, I didn't do anything that's outrageously secretive or anything like that, but
It's
he
almost,
didn't know what he didn't know. He was a young guy,
it's
and
courage.
yeah,
You're only able to kind of get courage by, and I think the really hard thing to grasp in is to get courage of industry peers
mhm,
is really quite hard.
yeah,
And when someone in your industry or a big figure in the industry says, "You've got this, mate. Like, go for it."
yeah.
That could be literally all the
That's all these people need is
that
is the push to go and do it. And it is. I've been there myself where you're like, fuck, I don't know if I want to not know that I'm getting a wage at the end of the week or
mhm,
whatever. Don't know where the next wage is coming from, and you maybe, I don't know, if you're staying with your mum or dad or whatever, that's fine. You've not got a lot to lose, but
yeah,
some people are doing this and they've got a kid or two or three kids, mortgages and stuff. So it's even harder when you've got all of that stress on there. But sometimes people just need kicked
in the
in the
right
right
direction.
direction. I mean, obviously there's a lot more to it. The person's got to do what they claim they can do. They've got to work hard, do long hours at the start, and all of that. So obviously the majority of everything is on the individual who does it. All you're really doing is nudging them along a bit, and pointing them in the right direction with a few bits and bobs. So it's the easiest thing in the world, but the one of the most rewarding as well. If you see somebody like Greavy, I've seen from his very early days in the SEO space to what he's got now, and he's just bought himself a bigger house. He's just had a kid. He's got his agency. He's investing in property, and you're going, fuck. 5 years ago, or whatever it was, 6, 7 years ago, this was just a wee douchebag that was trying to learn SEO, and he went in house, decided that's not for me. I
Yep.
want to do my own agency thing and whatever. And to see him come out on top like that, you're going, fuck, you know, if I've played any kind of small part in that, fair play. You know, that's what you want to see. Not a lot of people are jealous of other people. I don't. I like to see everyone doing well, and I don't know if that's just me, but you know, you see a lot of people going, "Oh, that guy's a." I've seen it with Gary. You know, Gary's got Reddit threads talking about his car. You've seen them. The guy's a prick, and he's got this and he's got that, and you know, why is he a prick? You know, because he's got an orange car, like because he's got a few quid and he bought. I mean, it's an in-your-face car. I'm not disputing that, and you know, double parking in the town, you're asking for trouble.
Does he do that?
Oh, aye, double parks it and all that.
That's
So,
horrendous.
he does the old double parking thing, and there's Reddit threads on it, and people are caning him for it. And
I think it puts people off wanting to build a network when there's jealous people there, and you almost think I'm going to be judged for where I am now or where I want to be, and people are going to say I can't do it, I can't do this, can't do that. It ain't the case.
nah,
The people that are important to you, and the people that you should be having as part of your network, are not going to be jealous of seeing you succeed.
no,
If anything, it'll be the complete opposite, like yourself, where they're like that. I want to see. I mean, especially with us all kind of being from Glasgow, like this is right on your doorstep stuff.
yeah,
If you're in local networks, those people want to see you succeed. So for someone starting right, fresh in the game, whether it's going to work at an agency or whether it's starting their own agency or whether it's going to work for a company, and they've got zero networking experience, zero networking advice. What's a 90-day plan for them to kind of start getting into the ropes of things and attending stuff and putting themselves out there?
is this what I'm meant to talk about?
Yeah.
Your network? Nah, like genuinely, I think you know you've got to start local. You do have your is it Scottish networking group?
Scottish Marketing Network, yeah.
Scottish Market Network. You know these things. Is it every second month you do it, or every 3 months?
We try and do a kind of in-person event every 6 to 8 weeks.
So I think going to things like that are hugely important. Just to get a feel for what people are doing locally and stuff. You know, I'm not saying you can go to all of the local ones and you know they're all going to be extraordinary value and you know there's all sorts of special guys. You know, you need to think bigger and broader. You know, there's networking or conferences all over the fucking world. And what I've always found is certain parts of the world are really good at certain parts of things. You know, certain countries are more advanced in certain areas and stuff like that. So I'm not trying to say you only have to go local. Of course, there's a broad wealth of knowledge everywhere else, but I think you've got to start locally, get used to how these things are set up, get used to talking to folk. So going to the local ones are important. You know, I used to run the Glasgow SEO meetup. We used to have them. We had them in some of the pubs in the town. Then we moved on to Strathclyde Uni. We used to get, you know, probably between 70 and 100 people at those.
It's a great start for someone as well with that, because it's not too overwhelming for someone that's
Yeah.
new to go to that.
And you know, just have a few beers, go along, get a wee blather with people, and as I say, you know, I met Greavy at that, I met Tommy Butler at that. I think Gordon Campbell was there. Slaughter never went to these, by the way. I don't even think he was aware that they were on. So going out to the local ones is certainly a great place to start. You know, I don't know how many other local ones there are, but there will be yours. There will be someone doing an ecom meetup somewhere locally, even if it's in Stirling or whatever. Like, who cares?
You train through and
Yeah.
we night out after or something like that as well.
So I think that would be my first thing. Go understand how it works, see how it works, and
Attend them yourself.
make your own choice on it. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, local networking's bollocks" and all that stuff, and I kind of do agree to a certain degree. Certain local ones, like I'm not a huge fan of the kind of BNI stuff and all that.
Yeah, no,
I think that's a bit of a circle jerk, and you've got to recommend or you get flung out and all this kind of
I
crap.
know.
It's a bit of a joke.
I think the difference with BNI is it was purely made to pass business around.
Yeah.
Networking's not
No,
that. If you go in with that head and mindset of I'm going to network to pass business around, it ain't going to work for you.
no.
It's about
That's what
growing.
people automatically think.
Correct. That's what
when
they
they
go
go,
to.
and they think it's all about that, and
Uh,
that is the wrong mindset to
mhm.
go. So if you're going, don't try and peddle your shit,
No.
and talk about me, I'm the best at this, and I'm fucking making X, Y, and Z and all that. Like, no one likes that chat.
Mhm.
Go and just mingle, slowly get to know
Yeah.
people, and
You
go
asked the
to the next
question
one.
that I just said as well earlier on about why is it you're here? What is it you're here for today? That's probably quite a good one as well to break some ice too. I think maybe finding these events, I think, might be tricky because people don't know where to look. Eventbrite, a lot of kind of meetup stuff. If you just search meetup and Eventbrite, Glasgow, there'll be a lot of events that pop up that
Or
where we put our tickets on anyway. So
Eventbrite, you've got that meetup as well. I don't
yeah,
know if meetup.com's still a thing, but that was the go-to one
for
when,
local
when I was
areas.
doing it for local areas. And whether you're in Aberdeen or whatever, it's all the same shit, but it'll be Eventbrite, maybe Meetup if they still do it, and things like that. But that would be the kind of, I don't know if it's a 90-day plan, but I would be going to these regularly, because even though I've not done business, I've met guys like Tommy Butler, who has domains, and he's got amazing domains. He's got great stories. He's a fucking great guy.
Anyone that
Uh,
doesn't know, he owns Glasgow.com.
yeah. So I didn't do business with him, but I wasn't there to do business with him. I went to and I met another local guy who's like, "Oh fuck, Craig," he regularly comments in my Facebook and talks on Twitter and all that stuff. And you met Tommy at the night out that Creevy had.
Yeah.
So he's just a great guy. He's just old school Glasgow guy with good banter and some good stories. And I probably don't meet Tommy as much as I should, but I've even went for a swim with him.
I was going to say, he likes to swim
He likes to swim
um,
in the
in the
Town
Crown
Plaza.
Plaza.
Yeah. So meeting these guys and just hearing what he does, I now have a better understanding of what goes on with domains. There's guys out there who they don't even do websites or anything. I'm not saying Tommy doesn't, because he does. He makes money through affiliate marketing and stuff. But there's guys out there who just do domains,
Yeah.
and you're like, fuck, they'll sit on them for 20 years, and make money. So you're like, fuck, that makes sense.
Interesting.
It's interesting, and ticks off a box in my head going, I know a guy that does that. So if I ever need to pick on anyone's brain, I'd probably go to Tommy. When it came to something like that,
Yeah.
Tommy, who do you know that could get me this or whatever? He would be the go-to domain guy. So we never exchanged money
No.
either way,
And
but
rightly so, if he needs someone that he's like, I need someone for SEO.
he would probably give us a shout. He might not give me a shout, because I think he's pals with Greavy and all that as well. So I don't know. Who his favourite is, but
One of as well, yeah.
so I think you go in, people automatically think it's BNI, and it's not.
No,
Because I'm not a fan of the BNI
no,
model.
nor am
So,
I. Happy days. We'll wrap up, and again, I'll leave all their stuff for your network and LinkedIn and YouTube and stuff like that on the videos if people want to reach out to you, speak to you about any of the stuff as well. Contact details are all there.
yep,
Listen, mate, thanks very much.
no worries, mate.